There was a lot of speculation leading up to this NHL trade deadline involving the Rangers and kind of what their plan would be at the deadline. Would they be buyers, sellers, or possibly look to do a bit of both? And ultimately, they have done a bit of both, as this time they have made a trade for Carson Soucy of the Vancouver Canucks, a very solid, big, physical defenseman, and definitely fits exactly what this team needs more of. So I think this is a quite phenomenal trade for the Rangers. It's not some elite kind of star player they're adding in here, but it is a potentially quite impactful player that they're adding in. So we're going to take a look at Carson Soucy, kind of what he can bring to this New York Rangers lineup, kind of what this trade means for the Rangers, what they gave up for Carson as well, and kind of talk about just this trade in general and how good this could possibly be for the New York Rangers. So let's get right into it here and start off by taking a look at the actual trade package. And yesterday, if you didn't already see, the Rangers did make a trade sending away Reilly Smith to the Vegas Golden Knights for the San Jose Sharks' third-round pick in this upcoming draft and forward prospect Brendan Brisson. And the Rangers decided to keep Brisson, but they decided to trade away that third-round pick that they got from Vegas, which is the San Jose Sharks' third-round pick in this upcoming draft. They dealt that pick right away over to the Vancouver Canucks for Carson Soucy. And I think overall, when you consider, basically the Rangers kind of traded, Reilly Smith for Brendan Brisson and Carson Soucy. And when you really break it down like that, and you consider that, yes, Reilly Smith was traded, this past offseason for a second and a fifth round pick, which is, a decent bit of value. But I think when you consider what the Rangers ended up getting back here in return, and you kind of break it down, being Smith for Brisson and Soucy, Brisson, I kind of talked a bit about him in yesterday's video. Brisson is a young, kind of decent 23-year-old forward, maybe has a bit of upside there, has some experience at playing center and wing, so has some versatility and kind of adds to the Rangers' kind of need of organizational center depth. But so Carson Soucy is the exact kind of player that this New York Rangers team kind of needed to add in, and it was reported by Vince Mercogliano that the Rangers did kind of want to add in a, defenseman with some top four experience there who can eat some minutes up. Obviously he's not necessarily a kind of high end, top four defenseman, but he can be a kind of serviceable top four defenseman, can fit on that second pair possibly, or maybe even kind of get up on that top pair with Foxy. And we'll kind of talk a bit about the pairs later on in the video, but I do think Carson Soucy is the exact kind of player this team needed to add in. He is a big, tough, physical defensive defenseman. And, right now he stands at 6'5". He's about 208 pounds, so he's got some size to him there. And I think it's pretty clear that the Rangers have lacked a guy like this for quite some time now. I'm not saying he's going to fix all the problems defensively for this team, but the Rangers have needed to add in a guy like this who is that big, tough, physical defenseman who can block a lot of shots, but has some size to him, can play a good, tough, reliable defensive game, and can just be a big body out there on the back end to help move guys out of front of the net there and battle in the corners and just play a nice, reliable defensive game. And that's what he can probably do for this Rangers team. He's not going to be some game breaker, not going to be some high-end guy, but I just think can be a solid add for this team. And, when you do consider other teams who have, won these cups in the past, like the Florida Panthers, they had some guys like this who are these big, tough, reliable defensive guys. And, Carson can definitely be that for the Rangers, hopefully. And I even remember seeing links to Carson Soucy with the Rangers, even back when he was with the Minnesota Wild, where he began his career, and even with the Seattle Kraken as well, back when he was with them before going to Vancouver. So this is a guy who I remember the Rangers have been linked with for quite some time now. It makes sense. Like I said, this is the kind of guy this team needed to add in. And the big thing is, he's not only a player who can help this team for just this season, he's under contract for next season as well, which I think is the big key factor in this trade. This is not a rental move, which the Rangers have done a ton over the last few seasons. This is a guy who is going to help this team for not only this season, but next season as well, guaranteed. Unless they deal him away, which I highly doubt is going to happen, he's under contract for next season with a very reasonable cap hit of $3.25 million as well. I think he's somewhat on that kind of caliber of a Will Borgen, where I don't think they're necessarily kind of, truly just kind of bottom pairing caliber defensemen, but I also don't think there are these kind of true high end kind of, top four caliber guys. So they're somewhere in between there of like a second and a third pairing kind of guy. You got high end third, low tier kind of, second pairing kind of guy, you could say. So I think a guy like Soucy is definitely a pretty good add. And when you also consider a guy like Soucy has, some experience playing quite a bit with someone like Will Borgen as well, back when they were both on the Seattle Kraken together. They played a ton together back in 2022, 2023. And In that season, they also had a total of 471.5 minutes played together over 66 different games, had an expected goals percentage of 47.3. So, not terrible, obviously not great numbers, but definitely not too bad. And so far this season, he did have a total of 59 games played with Vancouver, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, dash 13, 42 penalty minutes, averaging 18 minutes and 22 seconds per night, which is a career high. And I'd imagine he probably averages something around that with the Rangers as well. He also had 92 block shots, 86 hits in 59 games played. Those numbers are not too bad at all. He definitely can be a fairly physical defenseman while blocking a good amount of shots as well. Can definitely be quite valuable in those areas with, bringing that 6'5" size there. It's definitely a nice to kind of add in a physical, kind of tough defensive defenseman like that who can block shots, who can hit. This is why you add in a guy like this who can also be a pretty good playoff performer as well. This past playoff run last season there with Vancouver, he ended up having 12 games played, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points, so produced quite well, averaging 16 minutes, only 58 seconds per night, so did a pretty good job there. Had 32 hits, 12 block shots, only 12 games played as well with Vancouver in last year's playoff run, so not bad at all. He also got to play a decent amount against McDavid there, so obviously had his struggles at moments, but really and truly, I think this is a guy who, come playoff time, is the kind of guy you want to have in your team. Can be that big, tough defensive defenseman, be a good defensive guy there, block shots, hit, obviously, and just be a good team player as well. So I think adding in a guy like this, it was really a smart move. And the fact that he does have another year under contract as well is the really big bonus there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have loved this trade, but him having another year under contract there, you don't have to worry about, re-signing him there and kind of overpaying him in case he kind of walks there. You obviously have that certainty there where he's going to be under contract for next season guaranteed, and then maybe they do extend him after that, which I definitely wouldn't be against after, seeing him for the rest of the season there and maybe a bit of a playoff run as well. And now for some defense pairs that I think we could see at some point throughout the rest of this season and possibly next season as well. Once Foxy does get healthy, maybe we do see Fox alongside Soucy as that top pair there. You got Soucy on the left side, Fox on the right. You got that smaller, more offensive kind of guy, but obviously Foxy is a great two-way player, but we know how dynamic he can be offensively, and maybe going alongside a guy like Soucy there who has that size, that toughness, physicality, can block shots, hit, brings obviously that big 6'5" size there, more defensive game, could be a nice little kind of combo there. And with how Lindgren was playing earlier this season, I definitely would say Soucy is an upgrade. So that could be nice for Foxy there once he does come back, that, he goes alongside a taller, more physical defenseman who can maybe be a bit better of a fit alongside him. So that could work out quite well. And they could also possibly go with something like, Zach Jones or possibly Braden Schneider with him as well. There's lots of different combos we could see, but the Borgen pairing, reuniting them together, and I think the Foxy pairing are definitely pretty interesting, but the Foxy one is probably my favorite. Once he is healthy, I would really like to see what they could do together on that top pair. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. If you have enjoyed, don't forget to also comment down below your thoughts on today's video and, kind of what are your thoughts on this trade. I think overall it's pretty good. If I had to grade it, I could say a B+, A-, maybe. I think, value-wise, whether you consider what the Rangers gave up and what they received, I think overall it's a pretty good deal here. You end up pretty much doing Reilly Smith for Brendan Brisson and Carson Soucy. I think it's overall a pretty good trade, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.